Welcome everyone to a new episode of Hidden History. My name is Ariel, and this is Urbanist, a show where we explore the mysteries, the histories of cities all around the world. On Hidden History specifically, we cover the places you won't learn about in the textbooks and the places you won't find in the guidebooks. Today we're going deep underground into the Pantheon in Paris to learn about some of the most famous people to have ever lived, not just national heroes of France, but also national heroes of the modern world. So welcome everyone to the crypts of the Pantheon, and then later we're going up to the main level of the Pantheon and then go all the way to the top of the dome of the Pantheon. So welcome everyone, nice to see you here. So these are the crypts of the Pantheon. What is the Pantheon? Well, the Pantheon is one of the most treasured, important places in all of Paris. It finished construction in 1790. And we're going to get to why it was built in the first place. But what we should know right now is that some of the most important people of French history are buried right here. More than 76 men and women are buried here in these very walls. But today we're just going to skip right to the most famous ones. The most famous French writer to have ever lived. More than 2 million people attended his funeral when he passed away in 1885. Is buried just around the corner. However, before we continue, please alert me when it's 3:30 p.m. Paris time. So 3:30 p.m. Paris time. Please alert me in the comments. Actually, please alert me when it's 3:25 p.m. Paris time, because I have the tickets to go up to the dome, and that's the time we're going up to the dome. But first, let's go see Victor Hugo and the second most famous writer of all French history, Alexandre Dumas. Hello Gladys, hello Brenda, welcome, hello Helen, hello Gretchen, hello Michelle, hello Lorraine, hello George. So Victor Hugo was the writer of Hunchback of Notre Dame, and also one of my favorite musicals of all time. He didn't write the musical, he wrote the book that the musical was based on, Les Miserables. Victor Hugo was a national hero in France, so famous that when he passed away in 1885 at the ripe old age of 80, 2 million people attended his funeral. He wasn't just famous here in France, he was famous across the world, so much so that there is a bust of him in the gates of Shanghai. There's another statue of him in Havana, Cuba. But he's not alone in this crypt. He's with two other famous writers, Alexandre Dumas, the writer of The Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers, the son of the famous Thomas Alexandre Dumas, general, which we're going to learn about him later next week, and Emile Zola. Emile Zola was basically the Upton Sinclair of France. Upton Sinclair was a very famous journalist in New York City, kind of unveiled a whole lot of corruption. Emile Zola did the same thing in France. He wrote a very famous headline that just read, J'accuse, and kind of blew the lid on all the corruption that was happening in France in the late 1800s. Let's go and see the tomb of Victor Hugo. So this is the tomb of Victor Hugo. Now the Pantheon is only limited to very famous and very important figures in French culture, literature, arts, and politics. There's more than 76 people buried here. Almost all of them are men. I think 95% of them are. And there's only about like 5 women. No, there's only one official woman entombed here. That's Curie. Let's see if we can see her tomb. Here's Alexandre Dumas, famous writer of The Count of Monte Cristo. Now, along with Victor Hugo, Alexandre Dumas was maybe at certain points as equally as famous as Victor Hugo. And he was a mixed race. He was half African and half white French. And it's because his father came from modern-day Haiti, immigrated over here when it was a time where a lot of mixed-race Frenchmen from Haiti were accepted into society. At the end of his father's life, that was no longer the case. A lot of mixed-race people were booted off the country or incredibly discriminated against. Somehow, Alexandre Dumas, due to his sheer powerful writing, was able to capture the imagination of French people and people all around the world, especially with his two books, Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo. He also has a son who's almost as famous as him. He was a famous playwright and wrote the play that inspired the musical Moulin Rouge. His son is not buried here, just the father. Hello, Jane. Hello, Janet. Welcome. Hello, Cindy. Bonjour. Bonjour, everyone. Hello, Gladys. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Helen. Hello, Gretchen. Hello, Michelle. And hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hugo. Here. Here. Hugo. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Excuse-moi. Where's Voltaire? Oh, let's see. Oh, no, only Anglais.
You pass in front of him without seeing him.
Oh, okay, I do not see him at all. Thank you.
Okay, this is not a tripod. Okay,
No, it's not tripod.
Voltaire is the only one here which has his own statue.
Yes, exactly. That's why
You pass in front of him and don't see him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just came here in a hurry directly to Victor Hugo.
You ignore him.
Well,
Shame on you.
Now I'll give him my respect.
He's here.
Oh, awesome.
He has his own special here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In front of Rousseau.
Okay.
What is fun that they hate themselves.
They hate themselves, yeah?
Yes.
How so?
They hate themselves.
Oh, they hate themselves, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thank you so much. Okay. So I just asked one of the people who works here, where was Voltaire? And here he is. Okay, so now it's 6:20 a.m. Okay, I got 5 minutes before I go upstairs. And please alert me when it's 25. So here's Voltaire. Now, Voltaire is one of the most famous French philosophers to have ever lived. People have quoted him and misquoted him all around the world. He was also famous for being an intense coffee drinker. His official name was Francis Aulet. However, most people know him by Voltaire. He drank about 50 cups of coffee per day, at least according to legend. But I wouldn't be surprised because he wrote whole lots, and his philosophy really reflects his hardworking personality. However, in the early 1800s, through the late 1700s, through the early 1800s, there was a rumor passing through. Was Voltaire remains stolen? People all around Paris and throughout France thought that Voltaire's remains were stolen by religious fundamentalists, Christian religious fundamentalists, who snuck in here, opened up his tomb, took his remains and dumped it into the Seine River because they absolutely disliked his views against the Christian church, specifically the Roman Catholic Church. So in the late 1800s, they decided to do some research to see if Voltaire's remains were still there. And they were. all except two things. There's Voltaire. He died at a very, very old age, 80 plus. I think it was even older than that. Great, great philosopher. I really like a lot of things he wrote about. He also had a very great sense of humor. And there it is, L'Assemblée Nationale. And it was made by the great French sculptor Houdon. Yes, you're right, George, by the great sculptor Houdon. But there are two things missing from Voltaire's tomb. In Voltaire's tomb, there was no brain and no heart. What happened to them? Well, the National Library got ownership of them in the mid-1800s. But what did they do with the brain and with the heart? Well, they boiled it in alcohol in order to solidify it so it can stay intact forever. However, you can still see Voltaire's heart if you got access to the National Library, which I might not be able to do for this trip, but it's kind of crazy to think about. And that was fairly common practice. Okay, so sorry for the rush. I'll be going back down. We'll be going to explore all the areas of the Pantheon, but we're going to go as fast as we can so we can go up to the dome because it's a timed entry, so we can see views of Paris. And then once we go back down, we'll see all the beautiful paintings and murals of the Pantheon. Thank you for alerting me, everyone. They unfortunately allow entry only every hour. Alright, everyone, get ready. We'll be coming back down here after we go to the dome to take everything in. But this is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in Paris, France, so far. Marie Curie is here, yes. She's downstairs, yeah, she is. Marie Curie is the only woman to have won the Nobel Prize twice. Thank you, George. Udon. Again, forgive my French pronunciation. I really appreciate the corrections. Alright, here's the line to go up to the dome. It's getting pretty large. So as we wait, let's talk a little bit more about the Grand Pantheon. But before I show you, I have to tell you a little bit more about my personal perspective coming here because I think he'll shed light on how important it is to come here. I've been to the Pantheon in Rome and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but it's a free thing, it's free to enter, it's very casual. You go in and you go out. After going to the tomb of Napoleon, I thought this was going to be very similar. I didn't think it was going to be really worth it. So I was going to do this tour. I thought it was going to be only like 30 minutes, quick tour of a few secrets, and that's it. But then I came here, and I am still in utter awe. I don't think the video is going to do it justice. You have to come here for yourself. Let me show you. Wow. Massive columns for nearly 100 years, from 1790 all the way to 1889. This was the tallest building in all of Paris. The Eiffel Tower ended up taking that title once it was built. And there's all these beautiful paintings all around. So the line still didn't allow entry. It's going to happen soon. Absolutely gorgeous. We're going to come back here and talk a little bit more about the paintings. But how did this get started? Well, for that we have to go back to 1544. 1544. Sorry, my mistake. I meant 1744. 1744, King Louis XV was sick. Terribly sick, and he was making his way to Metz, France. And he said publicly to everyone, if I get cured, please be God, if he cures me, then I will build a abbey in the honor of St Genevieve. St Genevieve is the patron saint of Paris. And Louis XV, lo and behold, due to the good graces of God, or so as he believed, he was a Christian man, he ended up getting cured. And he ended up filling out his promise and building the temple of St Genevieve. But who is St Genevieve? Well, St Genevieve, we have to go way, way, way back. Okay, let's go into the tomb. I'll get to that soon as we go see the views. I mean the dome. Hello, Sandra. It is absolutely beautiful. I agree. You visited Paris over 20 times. And clearly, this has to be in your next itinerary. Yes. You know, if I weren't to do a video on this, I might have skipped it. Because it just did not superficially seem like something too entertaining after seeing the Tomb of Napoleon. I thought I had enough of dome-like religious structures, but I think I grossly underestimated it. And when I came here, and after learning the history, I was like, oh yeah, I'm glad I came here. So we're still waiting for the dome. It's at 3:30. So who was St. Genevieve? Well, for that we have to go all the way back to when the Attila the Hun was set to attack Paris. Attila the Hun was the leader of a group of nomads from the steppes regions of Central Asia and Eastern Europe. He was mostly based in the modern-day area of the Caucasus, like modern-day Georgia. However, Attila the Hun was pushing further and further into Europe, causing mayhem and chaos. His fighting style was very similar to the Mongols, because the Mongols and the Huns are very closely related. They raped and pillaged any country, any town, any village they came across with no mercy. So Attila the Hun was encroaching on Paris. And St. Genevieve, at that time, a very young girl. Okay, let's go. I'll tell you the story. Alright, so yes, you do need an extra ticket aside from the regular ticket, even if you have the museum pass. Entrance here is free, but you have to pay an extra €3 to go up to the dome. Luckily, the dome is open at this time. Sometimes they do close, so just double check. And what he said basically is that we get to spend 10 to 15 minutes upstairs and see the entire 360 views of Paris. The reason there's such beautiful views of Paris up in the dome is because, as I mentioned, this was the tallest structure until the Eiffel Tower. The temperature right now is a very cool 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So excited. All right, we're in. All right, here we are for the first stop Get ready, everyone. Let's see.
Nou, de springen er weer veranderen.
Gretchen. Indeed, I will. A good, very cheesy croque monsieur. Here we have the triangle symbol again. Oh, another time we bump into it. You're welcome, everyone. So we're going to learn soon about what that little thing is that's moving around. It's a scientific experiment. Once we go downstairs, we'll learn exactly how important that little thing is. So originally this was actual church, a cathedral in the honor of St Genevieve. So to continue off with my story, St Genevieve, as a young little girl, saw all these visions at night. Visions by angels and also demons. And as the Huns were coming, she said to everyone that she saw the visions that the Huns were going to invade, but if they prayed hard enough, they would stop. So Genevieve went throughout the town telling everyone in medieval Paris to pray, or even before medieval Paris, because these were the 400s. And everyone started praying and praying and praying and praying. And the Huns diverge and go down to Tours, never to hit Paris ever again. Because of that, St Genevieve was deemed the patron saint of Paris. And this was built in her honor after King Louis XV was miraculously cured from his sickness. Get ready, everyone. Second stop. Up, you go. We haven't finished yet. We're going even further up. And in Paris, that's why you shouldn't bring a jacket even if it's 68 degrees Fahrenheit, because you'll be walking a lot and you'll probably be sweating. So one more view. Wow. So here we are under the buttresses of the cathedral. So this was originally built in the Romanesque revival style. However, they use a lot of Gothic elements in this, specifically the buttresses that are above our heads through these walls. And that's why it's kind of a cool combination of Romanesque with Gothic. Well, Romanesque aesthetics and Gothic architectural kind of practical elements, engineering elements. Oh, George, you have one of the pendulums in LA Observatory. I can't wait to go there one day. And that's awesome that they also have one there. This one is the original, and we're going to learn why. All right, everyone, share this with your friends and family, Facebook groups, because you're about to see all of the City of Lights and the dome as well. There we go. So the Eiffel Tower is the structure that beat this beautiful Pantheon. Now a little bit before the structure we see the dome of Les Invalides, which we went to yesterday on Facebook Live. Okay, just to wait, we're gonna see this at night as well, but not this view. Another very tall structure in Paris, iconic as well. Not the Eiffel Tower, not the Pantheon, but another one. Let me show you the flying buttresses. So this is the similar type of architecture that holds up these very tall ceilings that were first used in Notre Dame's architecture. Became very famous all throughout Gothic architecture. So we have another set of stairs. I hope all of you use your good walking shoes today and have energy. Got a lot of coffee, like Voltaire, and at least 50 cups to sustain all this walking. So here we get to see the beautiful Mansard Roofs of the Parisian architecture from above, which is a really cool perspective. A lot of them have huge skylights as well on their Mansard Roofs. Those are like modern additions. So you could just imagine coming here in 1800s Paris and just being absolutely blown away by this magnificent structure. Including Victor Hugo himself, he was probably very blown away by this dome. So much so that when he returned from his self-made exile and returned back from the Channel to Paris, he actually wanted to become dictator of France. He said that being a dictator is a grand crime, but I'm willing to commit that crime in honor of the Parisians. But he failed. Failed. Wow. You do get a stone smell, especially inside. Wow. Okay, everyone. We just saw one part of the view. Here's way more. Get ready. Get ready. Here it is. Paris from above. That's why they do it only once per hour, all the amount of stairs. Yeah, I think that's precisely why. Look at that. If you can spot the arrondissements, let me know. Arrondissements go in a circular fashion. Start with 1 in the center, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 20 outside. So King Louis XV hired the architect Soufflet to build this beautiful temple to St Genevieve. And at first, as I mentioned, it was a Roman Catholic church. However, the revolution happened in 1791. And suddenly, people didn't want any big Catholic churches to be left. They wanted to change why this was being used. There's more stairs here. I think this goes even further up. But I think this view suffices. So feel free to take a screenshot. All the way behind the flag we see La Défense, which is the cosmopolitan center of France, of Paris, I mean. Nick, we started at the check that out. Go to the beginning of the broadcast after it has finished. To take out my secondary camera, 360, take a 360 photo. So enjoy these views. here we are. Okay, finally a spot opened up. Well, let's take a photo. There we go. Let's take another one. So this is my 360 camera, and this is how I'm doing the extra 360 videos and photos. I'm gonna take a short video. Sorry, I can't come back up here, so I have to do it with all of you. So let's go over here. All right, there we go. There we go. That's a lot better. Go this way. I'm glad I do have good weather, so I'm taking a video of it. I'll be posting it after this, so you can get to see 360 views of Paris. I'll be posting extended tours of other parts in Paris with more history if you want to check it out by becoming a supporter. They're posted a month before they are posted publicly. Just, ooh, look at that flag, Eiffel Tower, Les Invalides, where Napoleon I is buried, La Défense, which we might visit next week. And just all the beautiful areas of Paris. Another lowly skyscraper down there. Oh, I wonder what that skyscraper is all about. And a few more skyscrapers over here. Paris is a very low city. So now you can see me do 360 video or how I look behind the scenes in a Facebook Live. You can see I speak very close to the mic of the phone. Oh, it just went down on me. Paris is massive. However, Paris, compared to New York City, only 2 million people live in metropolitan Paris. But if you were to take into account Greater Paris, over 12 million people live in Greater Paris, making it much larger than even New York or London, which tap out around 8 million. However, most of those 8 million in New York live within New York. And then most of those 8 million in London also live within London. But Paris, by area, is way smaller than New York City or London itself. Okay, everyone, let's take a selfie. There we go. Hurts every time. And Montparnasse. Oh, I'm not sure where Montparnasse is. I know it's within Paris, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know the geography of Paris off the top of my head. I just know the landmarks. New Yorkers are used to walking a lot, as indeed we are. Very similar to St. Paul's Cathedral, lots of stairs. Oh yeah. Paris is so quiet in August. Ooh, it is. You can barely hear anything. Look how silent the city is. All right, let's walk a little bit further into to get more 360 views. So let's go to the other side. Right there is Notre Dame. That is the centerpiece of Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. However, Victor Hugo originally wrote it the story of the Hunchback is just like almost a minor character within the greater story that he originally wrote in French, which was about the architectural history of the cathedral, which I'll talk about a bit more when we do a Notre Dame tour. And Paris, yeah, it's a gorgeous city, but you can hear how quiet it is compared to the huge, more massive rumble of New York City. And right there we see Sacré-Cœur, which is in Montmartre, which we'll be visiting middle of next week. See what other landmarks we can see. We can see Iglesia St Genevieve, St Portais. We can see the Hotel de Ville, which should be around this area here. I should have shown you around, says Eric. Man, it's a longer weekend, therefore many have traveled to the countryside. Plus many Parisians are on vacation in August. Indeed they are. Indeed they are. That's why it's so inexpensive to come here in this particular month. So there we can see a smaller version of the Buttresses that are on this same exact building. Let me show you a little bit more of the architecture here. And this skyscraper is the Tour de Comte de Jussieu. I think that skyscraper is the one that's very controversial. It was the first one to be built in the historic area of Paris, and people hated it so much that they wanted to tear it down. Similar to how they want to tear down another monument, the Eiffel Tower, which I'll be talking about later. And look at that perspective. That's so cool. Cindy, you say built in 1973, so hated that they banned any new construction over 7 stories, referred to as the ugly tower. That's funny. If you have any questions and want me to focus on anything while we're still up here for about like 5 more minutes, let me know. After this, we're going back downstairs and we're going to see all the crazy, beautiful murals of the actual Pantheon, and also learn about why is there a pendulum in the middle. So here we see how the water is being stemmed out. Well, since this was built after the Middle Ages, there's no decoration for how the water spouts out back onto the streets. But if we were to go into a cathedral that dates back to the 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, you would see there gargoyles. Gargoyles actually means to gargle up the water that runs off from the building. And let's see if we can see gargoyles here. I think the only place where really there are gargoyles is Notre Dame. No, there's no gargoyles in this one. Zoom in onto Notre Dame. Poor Notre Dame. They are repairing it, so it'll open up at some point, but it's currently closed to the public. Nick, I'm so happy I can show all of you the beautiful views of Paris. Carmen, you miss Paris. It's a beautiful city. Now, I really now know why people find it magical. First time I came here way too short of time, two or 3 days, and I only saw the major attractions, and mostly it was within museums and very rushed. But when coming here with a little bit more time, you can absorb the magic even better. Hey Mark, you're planning a trip to Bordeaux soon. It looks beautiful. Ooh, amazing. Great wine over there. Ian, amazing. Yes, indeed, it is amazing. Gorgeous. If no one knows yet, I'll be doing a takeover of Streaming the Magic Facebook page at 6 p.m. Paris time, 12 noon New York time, of the Eiffel Tower for a second round. If you want to tune in, check it out. Ian has sponsored me to take over his own Facebook page, which is Streaming the Magic. So thank you, Ian, for supporting Urbanists through that way. Let's see. Donald, is that stereotype that Bordeaux makes great wine? Maybe. It's very controversial because recently the Chinese have won many grand awards because they bought up chateaus. They bought up chateaus in Bordeaux and learned their craft and the recipes and just literally copied it. And copied it so well that they have won many major awards halfway across the world. So now we are ran out of time, so now we gotta go back down. The Airbnb I'll be showing to you on my very last day, and I'll be giving you the link to it if you want to know where to stay. So the very last day I'm here, which is the 26th, or probably the morning of the 27th. So stay tuned. I'll announce it, but it'll be much later. I'll be showing you my Airbnb. But it'll be worth it because you'll know what Airbnb is actually really good to go and visit. Amazing Paris. And we just got here perfect because it was very rainy yesterday, kind of bad weather to walk around, and early in the morning it was very rainy, but now it's beautiful, puffy white clouds.
Forse qui siamo al pari dell'ingresso, ma la cupola non molto di su. Sì, secondo me después será escoger.
Au revoir, Paris. We'll see you soon from the Arc de Triomphe later at 9 p.m. We're going above and seeing the city at night.
D'accord. On n'a pas eu l'impression de voir monter le sourcil.
You're right, Donald. It's ambianto.
Tu donnes la main à ton si t'as peur.
Gretchen and Sandra, this is the Pantheon of Paris, not to be mistaken with the Pantheon of Rome. It was designed based on the Pantheon of Rome. It used to be the Church of St Genevieve. So no, this is not St Sulpice. St Sulpice is much older, and we'll be visiting it later next week. Hello, Stella. I can't read French. But you say go to Provence, it's magnificent, and they have good rosé in Provence. Oh, I wish I were here a little bit longer time with a little bit bigger budget. Then I would go to many of the other different areas. But this trip is just Paris. Oh, Gretchen, I don't know what the church below the one right next to Pantheon is. If anyone knows, I don't think that's St Sulpice. St Sulpice is much, much older. It's a more newer church. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. So we see the Musée du Louvre right over here. Zoom in. It's fuzzy because I'm zooming in, that's why. So now, let's go downstairs.
Entonces esto fue lo que hicimos en Sevilla, y nos explicaron cómo construimos y nos enseñaron
llenado con vasijas.
Las partes, no sé, por las partes pocas. Sí. Y era para que no pesara, ¿no?
Carl, yes, there's a guide. It's timed entry, and there's a guide that gives you 10 to 15 minutes to stay on the top, which is what we just did. But due to all the graffiti that you're seeing here, it seems that it used to be open to the public at any time, because there's a whole lot of it, and it seems it was open to the public for more than 100 years. You might be able to find graffiti here that dates back even to the 1790s, during the time of the French Revolution. And here we are, we're back to the base. Alright, that was quite a journey. So now, let's learn a little bit more about this beautiful cathedral. Pantheon. Used to be a cathedral. So, to recap a little bit, King Louis XV commissioned this to be built, hired the architect Soufflet, and they finished construction in 1790. The architect died while it was being designed, but his student took over and finished the project. However, this was finished only a mere few months before the French Revolution, because the French Revolution started in late 1790, early 1791, and by 1791, a major leader of the French Revolution died, and they decided to entomb him here. That leader was, well, let's find the statue first. Now, also in the original architecture for this building, they commissioned all these beautiful artworks from many, many famous painters at that time in the late 1790s. Here's an exhibition of different moments in French history. The graffiti itself is kind of history, but still shame that people need to put their mark on such a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's within human nature. You find graffiti even in the Great Pyramids, dating back sometimes to Roman times. There's some Roman graffiti on the Great Pyramids. So another person who's buried here, who's interned here, entombed and buried, they're all different, I know. And sometimes it gets confusing to use the right word. But another person who's interned here is the Braille, last name Braille, who made the Braille language system for people to read while they're blind as well. But another person that is interned here, is the scientist Lon Foucault. And Lon Foucault was a physicist. And he wanted to fully just prove, without a single doubt, that the Earth was round. By the late 1700s, early 1800s, people already kind of knew that the Earth was round. Just naturally, like it was never really, people were never too doubtful. However, due to still the heavy influence of the Roman Catholic religion, there was never really like an official stance of like, this is true. So he decided to build a massive pendulum. He asked Napoleon I, who was the ruler at the time, or actually Louis Napoleon, who was his son, who was the ruler at the time, to build this huge pendulum. And this huge pendulum, the way it's spinning, that it doesn't move in a way that's the other different direction. And that ends up making it so it doesn't look like it's spinning out of control or not spinning at all. Because if it was spinning either out of control or not spinning at all, it would either mean that the Earth is flat and there's no real such thing as gravity, ultimately, or that the Earth has some other crazy structure to it and we don't even know what it is because it's not a sphere. However, the pendulum is perfectly swinging back and forth, in a way proving that the Earth is round. I don't know the physics behind it fully, but he did, and people finally kind of were convinced. This is a replacement. The original one is in, I think, in the National Library. This is a replacement installed here in 2006, I think it was. And the string goes all the way up to there, to the apotheosis of St Genevieve. This is the main beautiful mural painted in her honor, St Genevieve, the patron saint of Paris. As I mentioned before, did the miracle where the Huns decided to not attack Paris and just retreated and went to another different city instead. Huns never returning. It was kind of depicted in the show Vikings, even though that was a different era, where there's a scene of nuns just like all going down and praying, and the princess asks all the nuns in the city to pray so the Vikings won't come. However, I think the most interesting of the murals are right around us. And these were painted by Francois Girard. And Francois Girard depicted a few like moments in any life or any life of a country. So here are the different moments, including death. So we have Le Justice, the justice, woman with a righteous sword, people at her feet. We have La Glorie, the glory, a woman being crowned with a crown of lights. I think that's Napoleon right next to her. Looks like her. Looks like it. Oh, maybe, probably not. It's probably not because this was commissioned earlier. We have La Patria, the patriotism, the patriot, being a patriot. Or pride. And we have Lamort. And this one's much darker. This one depicts the angel of death coming to collect her next victim with wings of a bat, jet black hair, lots of eyeshadow too, of course. Death uses eyeshadow. ripping that man's heart. Maybe it was Voltaire's heart. No one knows. Lamort. But don't get it confused with La Petite Morte. If you know your French, you might know what that means. So it's La Morte, but not La Petite Morte. George, you say they're really in need of conservation. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're a little bit faded. This one is still in full glory. Look at that. Full glory. Amazing. Wow. But these ones are not so much. Do not search La Petite Morte. So lots of statues here. This is the glory of the French Revolution. And as I mentioned, 1791, the French Revolution started. Here's the National Convention. Carmen, I'm so happy I can bring so much memories back to you. And for anyone else who hasn't been to Paris, I'm so happy I can show you Paris from the comfort of your own phone. HD versions either will be posted automatically after the broadcast has ended, but if that doesn't go through, I'll be posting the HD versions after I come back to New York. Here's La Convention Nationale, the National Convention, where the French Revolution got its start. Oh, Alda, thank you for the correction. You say it's pronounced more like Lamort. Interesting. Sounds a lot like love in Spanish. Lamor. Do not say the T. Yeah, I noticed in French they do drop the T's that end a whole lot. So here we have the insignia. What insignia do we have here? Let's see. Here we have RF. Actually don't know what RF stands for. If anyone knows, let me know. It's supposed to be the ruler that built this place, which was Louis the 15th. But why is it RF? Above it, there's a Latin phrase, Angelum Galea Costuvum Christovis Patria Falta Docet. Ooh, I'm not sure what that means. Angel something, the custodian of Christ, the pride of his father, maybe something along those lines. If anyone knows the Latin translation of that. In French, there's way too many letters that are silent. Donald, you're so right about that. At a certain point, when people kind of correct me on my French, I'm like, wait, you just cut off like 5 letters, and the word was only 4. So, yeah, there's a lot of letters dropped. Sometimes too many of them. It's too many of them. Okay, you just Googled La Petite Morte. La Petite Morte. Big confusion. Don't get them confused with Lamort. Alright, let's see if we can find the statue of our main man of the hour. Well, I'm glad all of you fulfilled your curiosity. Now you can never forget what La Petite Morte means. Are you aware that some past folks only had their hearts entombed where you... Nick, I didn't know that people entomb just their hearts here, but I did talk about how Voltaire had his heart taken out and embroiled, so it survives forever in the National Library. But let me know whose heart alone, like not their body, just their heart, Whose heart is entombed here? Let me know. I'm curious. I'm curious. Beautiful. Let's see what this is. So this says aux heros incones, aux martes ignoris mors por la France. The heroes inconjurable, most likely, the martyrs, the ones who were ignored, died for France. I love the typography in Paris. If anyone knows what this font is, I gotta do some research on the font. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow. I have good eyes. Good eyes and very thick glasses. I'm guessing World War I monument? It might be. It looks like it. Let's see if there's a description on it. No, built in 1875, so it predates the monument, I think. Predates the war. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. It's not clear. Alda, tres bien, yes. Thank you. Tres bien indeed. Here we see the sun motif again. This one's surrounded by either it's waves or flames. Oh, lots of suns here as well. This is a monument in honor of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who was one of the French revolutionaries. So I'm not sure if the statue is still here of who I intended to talk about. But look at this. La venganza, la venure. Wow, this is the revenge. Damn, this is quite a statue. So, I can't find the statue, but I'll tell you the story nonetheless. In 1791, a French revolutionary passed away, Maribiu. And Maribiu, the Count Maribiu, he helped the revolutionaries, passed away, and in 1791, the French revolutionaries decided to convert this from a church into an official tomb for national heroes. Maribiu was the very first national hero to be entombed here. However, many years later, after the reign of Napoleon, when Napoleon decided to reconvert this back into the church, people found out that Maribiu was an agent of the King Louis XV. So people did not like that at all, especially the revolutionaries in the Second Revolution, and they decided to take out Maribiu and kick him out from this tomb, and then they replaced them with other ones. They replaced them with Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and they replaced them with many other different revolutionaries and scientists and writers like Victor Hugo and Alexandre Dumas, which we learned about later. So yeah, that's a cool thing. Absolutely gorgeous. Here's a better look at death. Just one more time. It looks so cool. This is such an awesome painting. Very hardcore. Very gothic. And I think there was a room. Let's see. I think there's a little bit more to this monument that meets the eye. Let's check out what's over here in this door. Also, there's an Urbanist of the World group if you want to connect with your fellow urbanists as well, Gretchen. If you want to check it out, click the link in the comments. Oh, this is a sortie. This is an exit. Let's see if we can find something else to show here. Now, what's really cool are these computers, touchscreen, and they have the full history of the church. Donald, yeah, it is. And thank you so much for posting so much on Urbanist of the World. I appreciate it. Donna, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't reached out to him yet. It might be a good Facebook Live. Is Edith Piaf entombed here? I thought only Marie Curie had her body here. She probably has her name engraved, but I don't think her body is located in Père Lachaise. Edith Piaf's body is located in Père Lachaise. Not here, but she might be engraved here. So if you're a national hero but you're engraved somewhere else, you if you're a national hero and you're entombed somewhere else or buried somewhere else, your name might be engraved here. So that is the crypts, which we already saw. So we basically seen everything we needed to see. If you want to see from the outside, let me know. We'll go out through the exit and I'll show you the Pantheon from the outside, from ground level, which I think is great because you'll get a perspective of how huge this building really is. And that's it for all the stories I've had. If you enjoyed the stories I told you, let me know. And if you want to see more videos, I'll be going live every day at 9 a.m. New York City time, 3 p.m. Paris time, until the 25th of August. So stay tuned. That's where we saw the view from above earlier. In case as outside, sure thing. The people have spoken. You will not be given cake, you'll be given good views from the outside. Here we have a gift shop. They have books of the people who lay here. So they have books of Voltaire, Lettres philosophiques, which are his philosophical letters. They have books by Rousseau, Emile Zola as well, who I mentioned is probably the most famous journalist of French history. And we have Les Mis. Oh wow, Les Mis. This is like a shorter version of Les Mis. This is abridged. Les Mis is way bigger than this. Give me the full version of Les Mis. Oh, there we go. This is Les Mis. Look at that. Look at that. Here we have Victor Hugo. Oh, looks so adorable. It's like a children's book about his life. Here's the Three Musketeers, more like a children's book of the Three Musketeers, written by Alexandre Dumas. And here we have the women who are entombed here. So aside from Mary Curie, I think also Simone Weil is here as well. So for the French, this is an extremely important location because, as I mentioned, top of the top people are buried here. Like, it's almost like if we in America had a burial site, say at the Lincoln Memorial, and had Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Steven Spielberg is still alive, but like Orson Welles, whoever else, many other greats, all buried at the same place. Oh, here's the book Le Petit Prince. He might be buried here as well. Antoine, the Little Prince, Antoine Saint-Exupéry. Amazing books here. So great books, and they also have some travel books. Oh, beautiful journal, wow. So everyone, please excuse my stop at the gift shop, but this is amazing. I hope you're enjoying this gift shop tour. So we have different books. Ooh, classic photos of Paris. And Paris cats. Oh wow, that's a door. Ooh, we're back out in the light. Okay, now let me show you this beautiful Pantheon from the outside. So, as I mentioned, don't underestimate the importance of this place. This place has some of the most influential French people who have influenced the world over. As I mentioned, people like Victor Hugo have their likeness everywhere around the world. And here we are. Wow. Look at this. Look at this. I also love how the French say wow. They say I've heard them say more guau, which is so interesting. If anyone can confirm why, in the French tend to say wow, guau. So here it says aux grands hommes la patria reconcilant. So it says the great men of the fatherland. Men specifically, because men were usually the only ones to be buried here until about, I think, the 1960s. Entombed here until about the 1960s. Show you from a little bit farther away. Beautiful weather today. Got so lucky for the Eiffel Tower broadcast, and then later on the phone broadcast. And also Champs-Élysées at night. And there we go. The Pantheon in all of its full glory. Look at that. Wow. Hello, Madeline. Welcome. And welcome, everyone. Nice to see you here. Ooh, I'm not sure. Maybe, Janet. Maybe I misheard. So thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned at 12 p.m. New York City time, 6 p.m. Paris time. I'll be taking over the Streaming the Magic page if you want to see a second round of the Eiffel Tower. And back on Urbanist at 9 p.m. we're going up the Arc de Triomphe to see views at night of the city of Paris. We saw it during the daytime, but we're going to see why the City of Lights is the City of Lights. And then walk along the Champs-Élysées, one of the most important avenues in all of Paris, and famous avenues of all of Paris. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep being awesome, and always keep on exploring. À bientôt!